Hey there, a quick one, Max flying solo tonight. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. This will be a reading of an essay we wrote today that we think you will enjoy. If you like the kind of work we're doing here, please see our work, support our work on redpillreligion.com. Please support our fundraiser by hitting the Patreon, the PayPal donate button. We're trying to raise $1,000 for Freedom from Atheism Foundation and to improve our software and our microphone situation. So we'd really appreciate it. Also find us on Subscribestar. We're opening up on MeWeApp very soon. We seem to have all our ducks in a row, but we'll be letting you know. In the meantime, I'm just going to be reading you this article and assuring you that all the links to support what I'm saying are in here. I'm not here to convince you of the truth of these things. I think the truth of these things has already been established. This is me educating you on a lot of things that I've learned the last year or two, and it really does matter. So let me go ahead and read this essay. Tough red pills to swallow. We need to lose the term conspiracy theory. I used to call myself a skeptic, and I used to snort at conspiracy theorists. But revelations over the last 10 years or so from the US CIA have proven to me and many others that the term conspiracy theory is merely a term used to stop critical thinking and analysis, and that many things once mocked as tinfoil hat conspiracy theories were either partially or entirely true. Here's a screenshot of at least one document, just as an example. If you read it, it's all about, experiments on human beings that were conducted under top secret CIA operations. So let's keep reading. Don't believe me? Let's have a few examples you can verify on US government websites and completely mainstream sources. The big one is Operation Paperclip. You can go see the links that I have on this article on redpillreligion.com. After World War II, a clandestine plan was launched by the US CIA to identify thousands of Nazis and their family members who were scientists who might be useful to the United States. Many of these Nazis were hideous war criminals, including people who had done human experimentation in the camps, human experimentation in mass media and mass hypnosis, experimenting on children and adults who didn't even know they were being experimented upon, and more. These Nazis were given cleansed backgrounds and placed in prominent positions in universities, corporations, and various government agencies, all under CIA direction, and often continued their work, including highly questionable on things like climate control, artificial intelligence, mass media indoctrination and propaganda, use of torture, and use of mind-altering drugs. Most of these people died as respected members of the community. Read about Operation Paperclip on CIA's own website. I have provided a link there. And if you're having trouble believing it and want someone to listen to instead, see CIA-approved writer Annie Jacobson and Joe Rogan discuss Operation Paperclip. There's a link there too. You can go watch her talk. And if you doubt Annie Jacobson is approved by the CIA, see the write-up on CIA's website on Annie Jacobson. This woman has been out there giving talks to not just Joe Rogan, but Google Talks and talks a whole bunch of other places. She's a journalist who's been given all kinds of access to the CIA and approved to talk about these things she talks about. And she's written several books on declassified material with the CIA's help and approval, admitting that a lot of these things are true. So this is no longer conspiracy land. This woman has been on CBS News and talked about in the New York Times and all of that. The summary is that Operation Paperclip, all those stories of secret Nazi scientists who came over to the US to work on Canada and whatnot, to work on various evil plots, well, it turns out there's real truth to that. In summary, the US government really did sneak in tons of Nazi scientists who worked on secret projects for decades for the CIA and other US government agencies. This conspiracy theory is true. Another conspiracy theory, Operation Mongoose and Operation Northwoods. You can verify the existence of these comprehensive programs in a document called the Cuba Project link on the NSA's website. That's the National Security Administration, a little bit of a sister agency to the CIA. While Wikipedia links are often unreliable, the basic Wikipedia pages on Operation Northwoods and Operation Mongoose have most of the salient details. Link. The short story, this was a years-long plan among multiple U.S. government agencies to stage a phony attack by Cubans against Americans. In other words, a false flag attack where U.S. forces would pretend to be Cubans and create a pretext for war. Plans included having American-controlled quote-unquote Cubans attack the U.S. base in Cuba, and also to very possibly sink ships full of U.S. military and or civilians in order to justify a desired invasion of Cuba. Notably, much of the Northwoods and Mongoose activity occurred after the Bay of Pigs fiasco, which was one where, even though President Kennedy had halted one planned attempt to invade Cuba, the U.S. military and intelligence establishments continued plans to launch a fake attack from Cuba in order to justify a military invasion. The plans were never enacted, but the government was fully ready to do it. In summary, it has been proven that the U.S. government can and will plan and execute false flag operations to lie to the American public and create pretexts for invasion and wars of aggression. Given we know now that the Spanish-American War and World War I both were entered into by the United States by false flag operations run by our own government, there's no good reason to think the U.S. government has stopped doing such things today. Please see the links to the Spanish-American War and the World War I. We know now that the bombing of the Maine was a false flag operation. U.S. forces sunk one of our own ships just to blame the Spaniards. And World War I, the Lusitania, really was a false flag operation. It was carrying munitions exactly like the Germans said, and the Germans really had warned people not to fly on that, to get on that ship because it was carrying munitions and would be sunk. The government lied in order to get us into World War I with the sinking of the Lusitania. So yes, there's no good reason to think governments have ever stopped doing this. Another one, this one gives everybody the heebie-jeebies, but let's go. MK Ultra. Brainwashing, mass hypnosis, trauma-based mind control, and sleeper agents are all real. Thanks to Freedom of Information Act requests and lawsuits, I might add, you can go to CIA's own website and verify that MK Ultra was quite real. MK Ultra included programs to develop mind-altering drugs like LSD and to do human experiments, often on subjects that did not know they were being experimented upon, including children. This often with the help, cooperation, or even direction of some of the Nazi scientists we mentioned regarding Operation Paperclip above. While some of the Nazi scientists were only of questionable character, such as NASA's Werner von Braun, that famous rocket scientist, by the way, was an actual SS officer, not just a scientist, while others were directly involved in heinous human experimentation. MK Ultra got created with some of these evil Nazis, along with Native Americans, Canadians, and others. You can read a summary of MK Ultra from history.com, links there. You can view a list-verse list of famous MK Ultra victims. And by the way, it's not even all that great a list. There's much more lurid ones. You can read about occultist ties and specific Nazi scientists and their related Project Monarch at Bibliotypecades. There's links to all of this. And while a few of the sources, a couple of times I've just linked some non-mainstream sources, most of this is coming right off U.S. government sites. So in summary, that stuff you read about the government creating sleeper agents and experimenting both on individuals and the general public unawares, developing drugs like LSD and releasing them into the population and more, turns out this conspiracy theory is true. CIA cops to a whole bunch of it. Another one, Area 51 and the alleged aliens. Now, once again, according to U.S. government-approved journalist Annie Jacobson, in her book, Area 51, An Uncensored History of America's Top Secret Military, she reveals that quite a few classified operations occurred there, involving experimental aircraft, but no actual aliens. According to Annie Jacobson and other reports and reporters, the aliens encountered in Roswell were, hold your stomach for this one, according to Annie Jacobson, the CIA-approved lady who writes these books for CIA, according to Jacobson and other reports, the aliens encountered at Roswell were in fact children who were experimented upon by Nazi scientist Josef Mengele, who had allegedly gone over to the Soviets instead of the USA, using surgery and drugs to mutilate their development and make them look like aliens and put them in a fake spacecraft in order to panic Americans. By the way, the part about Mengele is probably not in in Jacobson's book. Other people have speculated that it might have been Mengele, but it was Mengele type human experimentation on children, and that allegedly is what the aliens were. This, once again, according to the CIA, I'm not making it up. This is what CIA says. Now, many sources do question Jacobson's claim, given that Jacobson is routinely featured in mainstream media sources and is accepted at respectable talks in Silicon Valley. Links to all this. What we can take from Jacobson's work was what she says is at least government approved. So regardless, there really was a major incident at Roswell and other, quote, UFO, unquote, related sites. Annie and her crew insist there were no actual aliens. Others call this into question, saying the government is lying straight up about this and that there was real alien contact, such as from former Canadian Defense Minister Paul Hellyer, Link, who notes many generals and other U.S. and Canadian officials who believe there were real aliens and say they can document it. Summary. Whatever you thought of Area 51 and related UFO conspiracy sites, real and big things have happened in this area of, quote, UFOs, unquote, and the government completely lied to us for decades. It remains unclear how forthcoming they are about this subject or what the exact truth of alien encounters are. There is something true about this conspiracy, except that it's not clear exactly what, unless you simply accept CIA's gruesome story and it was a Soviet attempt to fake an alien invasion and scare people with mutilated children. I actually would rather believe an alien invasion, but okay. Similar. Now, this is actually not CIA, although CIA was involved in it along with NSA. We have a link to the NSA here. But, oh no, I have it wrong. It depends on which one you're looking at. From CIA, the Stargate project, from CIA.gov and other government sources, you can verify that Russell Targ did indeed run psychic programs for the CIA. Russell Targ is a noted physicist and scientist who also ran psychic programs for the CIA. Furthermore, from the related U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency, the DIA, you can see declassified documentation on Project Sunstreak, link, a program involving Russell Targ and others to do extensive intelligence work using psychics. And while quote-unquote skeptics have claimed pure luck on this, in his own book, Targ documents extensively how it is scientifically impossible to dismiss many of their results. Link. For an eye-opening video, see Russell Targ's banned TED Talk, by the way. Link. Also ask yourself why that talk would have ever been censored. If you want a, quote, mainstream source, again, you can listen to CIA-approved Annie Jacobson's talk out on her book on the CIA psychics. While some of those around CIA still like to claim that the program produced nothing of value, anyone looking at the testimony from Annie Lennox or reading Russell Targ's books knows that that's not true. There are some holdouts, but there's an awful lot of really smart people who say, no, sorry, we had real results and you can't deny them. Summary, this conspiracy theory is true to the extent that large numbers of intelligent observers believe they showed real psychic effects, with some doubters. Despite films and articles telling you nothing useful ever came out of U.S. government use of psychics, in reality they ran very sophisticated psychic operations for decades, which produced considerable intelligence that was useful, which is mighty lucky. Then, according to the physicist Russell Targ, who pioneered much of it, they brought in a large group of military officers for him to train, then terminated his program and publicly announced the government had found nothing useful and had no more use for such programs or such research. After he had just trained a bunch of career officers on all his techniques, they fired him and canceled everything, and they don't do any of that anymore. So do you believe they actually terminated those programs? Another one, Operation Mockingbird was the program to propagandize the American public through placing CIA operatives in major newspapers and magazines and broadcast media. Working with companies such as the New York Times, Time Life Publications, Newsweek, and major news networks, the CIA had telephone wiretaps and paid agents working as reporters in newsrooms, literally thousands of them. This included famous people like Bob Woodward, who helped take down President Nixon, as well as countless non-famous ones. There's a link here to a lengthy document known as the Family Jewels from the CIA website that goes into just how deep those ties were to major media in the United States and how high up they went. Here's a hint, all the way up to the boards of directors and the ownership. Although CIA and other sources say Mockingbird ended decades ago, there is no good reason we can see to believe this. It used to be completely illegal for the CIA to do any of this, yet they were doing it anyway, as those documents show. And it turns out not too many years ago, Congress went ahead and made it legal for the CIA to use propaganda against Americans. Link. By the way, at the behest of J. Edgar Hoover and others, the CIA invented the term conspiracy theory and spread it through the media in order to mock and demotivate anyone who questioned the official story on the assassination of President Kennedy or anything else. Did you get that? The term conspiracy theory and mocking conspiracy theorists was created by the CIA in order to mock anybody who questioned the CIA line. Summary. The main conspiracy theory here is true. The CIA has been propagandizing the American public as well as foreign audiences for decades, often violating the law to do it, although today's CIA is no longer so prohibited. Thus, the question becomes, why would you laugh if someone told you the government is still controlling us or spinning out most of your news and other media? Conclusion, with all these conspiracy theories turning out to have very substantial realities underlying them, why does anyone trust anything at all they're reading in the news, including mainstream political commentary? It should be noted, these are not the only proven conspiracy theories. These are just the ones you can just go check right now on mostly government and mainstream sites. There's a really good summary video here by Really Graceful. You'll notice she's critical of secular Zionists, but she's not anti-Jewish. Now, this is not to say there are no dumb conspiracy theories or conspiracy theories that are wrong. But the next time you hear someone say something that sounds strange and you are tempted to call them a conspiracy theorist, you might want to remember the term conspiracy theory was itself a conspiracy. It was an Operation Mockingbird conspiracy to stop thought and stop discussion. At some point, we all have to stop thinking we're smart and saying, oh, I can dismiss that. It's a conspiracy theory. That's a cheap way to seem and sound smart, but it's the way to be dumbest of all. I don't know everything the government is doing or not doing. I don't know everything the big corporation, the banks are doing, but I do know we get lied about enough. And it is silly to mock people for questioning what we've been told in this kind of environment today. Okay, tomorrow night we're going to have John C. Wright on. Not sure what we're going to talk about. What we're going to see will be here. We were planning on having Charles Moskowitz on tonight, but we're going to reschedule him probably for Thursday. We might also be seeing Misha pop off soon. We've got something going on most nights here on redpillreligion.com. So while we're still on YouTube, give us a like and a subscribe. Please find us on BitChute. Definitely find us on BitChute. Find us on MeWe. Find us on Gab. Find us on Dissenter. Find us on the emerging independent media platforms, and please definitely find us on redpillreligion.com and hit that tip jar to help our fundraiser, okay? God bless everybody.